So the news here, women in Saudi Arabia will soon be allowed to drive. It comes finally by royal decree after years of women defying Saudi law, getting thrown in jail for getting behind the wheel. Many are hailing this as a massive win, but before any of you celebrate entirely too much, consider this. One activist who drove and was jailed for it in Saudi Arabia left the country for Australia. She just talked to Christiane Amanpour, and she warns of a backlash, but did hail the move by the kingdom's new leadership.
They're young. They are, I would call them courageous to take this step. And there will be a huge backlash from the radicals and from the, I would say, the extremist Islamists in my country.
Let me bring in Fatimah Baeshen. She has a brand new job. She is the first woman appointed as spokeswoman at the Saudi embassy in Washington. So Fatimah, congratulations to you and welcome. Nice to have you on.
Thank you very much, Brooke, for having me on behalf of the Saudi embassy. I'm happy to be here.
So no question, obviously this is massive, massive progress. I mean, just to you as a woman, how big of a deal is this decree? And listening to the woman there, how will you handle the potential backlash from extremists in your country?
So just to echo the sentiments of His Royal Highness Ambassador Prince Khalid bin Salman, this is a historic moment for Saudi history and for Saudi society as well. But I think it's important to keep in mind that, you know, Saudi society has been evolving and leading up to this over the past few years. So women have been gaining access incrementally and systematically across the board into the public space. And we've seen this in the labor market with the feminization of specific retail industries. We've also seen this with executive appointments. The Saudi Stock Exchange is chaired by a woman. There's an airport in Saudi Arabia that's also chaired by a woman. We've also seen this in the politic. We've seen women be appointed as Shura council members, advising King Salman. And so we've also seen this with municipal elections. So women are running in municipal elections as electors and also voting. So I think the decree to allow women to obtain driver's license is a historic moment for Saudi society, but I think that there's been a lead up to this as well.
Reading, though, on the laws, Fatimah, I mean, just to be frank, I mean, it's wonderful for a woman to be able to drive, but she can't even drive to a restaurant and eat with others unless there's a family section.
I think, you know, and thank you for your question, but I think that there are a lot of misconceptions about Saudi Arabia and about Saudi society. There are Saudi women who have been productive citizens for decades, you know, even since the inception of the kingdom in 1932. There are Saudi women who are rocket scientists, they're mountaineers, they're chemists researching cancer research. So I think, you know, I would invite all of us to kind of expand holistically and kind of look at how the status of women in Saudi Arabia has evolved, and you know, the decree to allow women to obtain driver's license is a reflection of, you know, where society has reached.
I understand. I'm listening to your every word, especially as a woman, but when I read, just for people who don't know, you know, Saudi Arabia is familiar as you are, you can't marry, divorce, travel, open a bank account, get a job, have elective surgery without permission from their male guardians, mix freely with members of the opposite sex.
I really have to stop you there. Forgive me for interjecting, but actually,
sure,
in Saudi, as a Saudi woman, I can tell you, I just actually relocated here from Riyadh, and I have to tell you that I think there's a bit of a misconception regarding the guardianship system. So Saudi Arabia has made tangible strides in facilitating women's rights into the public space and overall with respect to access and choice. And I think there's still there's going to be room for improvement with respect to control, and that's when we talk about the guardianship system. But the guardianship system from an institutional policy is very different than what organically happens on the ground, and I think that's a disconnect. So for example, I just relocated here. When I was living in Saudi, I had 2 bank accounts, I rented an apartment, I changed jobs twice, and I had never any kind of permission for that. But a Saudi woman sitting next to me may have a different experience, but that's not the government, that's not the leadership, that's about kind of cultural norms within a very specific microcosm, a family or kind of immediate proximity. And I think we need to make this distinction, because even further with respect to the guardianship system, in May there was His Royal Highness King Salman Salman issued a royal decree to review the application of the guardianship system as a checking kind of check and balance system to this issue, kind of organic implementation versus, you know, the institutional policy itself.
Okay, thank you for interjecting, and I care for women, and you know, when we hear the woman who fled the country after being jailed to Australia, you know, I guess I'm just left wondering, in terms of having hope for women in Saudi, what do you hope? What's the next step, Fatimah?
Listen, I think this for Saudi women, the sky has been the limit and will continue to be the limit. And you know, there are extraneous certain circumstances across the board, and that happens within every society. But I think the thing to keep in mind is that Saudi women have been doing amazing things, irrespective of not having a driver's license. But now that the leadership has issued a royal decree facilitating obtaining a driver's license, I think this links back to the Vision 2030 and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. When he announced Vision 2030, there were specific targets to facilitate the matriculation of women into the workforce at greater scale. And part of the barriers for women entering into the workforce at scale was actually transportation. Mobility is a huge element with respect to that. And I think this will actually expand the choice and allow women to, if they want to, obtain a driver's license. And if they you know, choose, Saudi society is just like every other dynamic society. There are conservatives and there are kind of liberals and everyone across the board. So this is just about choice. No one's going to force a Saudi woman to get a driver's license. If she wants to get one, she has the option to get one. And if she chooses not to, she will not.
Well, I'm thrilled for the ladies to be able to drive and you do all these wonderful things and drive themselves to get there. Fatimah Baeshen, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, we continue on. You're watching CNN. I'm Brooke Baldwin. Just watching the clock here.